Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tech Show with Daryoush. My name is Daryoush, your host. Our guests are tonight again Kurt Roskop from the Disability Channel US and Robert Blakely, my old friend from the very early beginning of the internet, known as the Blakes there. It's the sales psychology coach. In the past week, I had a talk with a few friends of mine in Europe and some other Eastern countries. Something was mentioned that we talked about these trainings that reminded me to talk about it. These trainings are not absolute. Part of them are rules of the sales, and part of them you must adapt it to the culture of your target market. There are different understanding in different cultures, and one thing may work perfect in one culture, and it might be treated as not good in another culture. So knowing your culture is very important. You can find good information about different cultures, different markets, and how to interact with different markets in the To Checkout website. To Checkout is a payment gateway company that, on the contrary to so many other payment gateway companies, that they just provide you a payment gateway, they provide you information, useful information and resources, so that they help you succeed in different cultures. In order to have access to these resources, you can go to tocheckout.com, and in the resources section, you can go to the webinars or blog or ebook and guides and find those informations. For example, in the guides e-commerce, country guides e-commerce, you can find different separate information for markets of Germany, for France, Russia, United Kingdom, Turkey, and India. And soon the new guides will be released for Brazil, Italy, and Sweden market. So these information will help you to understand your target market better and how to adjust your marketing campaign, your sales efforts, so that you can be successful in these markets. For example, in some countries, in order to get a new client for any kind of SaaS service, the sign-up page is very simple. Name, email, sign up, click on sign up, that's all. And then after your client, that user created an account, you must go to the profile and complete its profile. According to the surveys and researches that To Checkout has made, I read it that in most of the European Union countries, this kind of sign-up form is not acceptable, and you cannot get so many sign-ups from with such kind of forms, especially in the B2B business, for the B2B websites and B2B services. Your sign up page must ask for full information, company name, legal address, website, phone numbers, email address, contact person. And then before proceeding to the checkout, there must be a preview. They must review the sign up form, and when they come and they confirm it, then they go to the checkout page and make the payments. If your sign up process for the Western European Union countries is not like that, you cannot have so many sign-ups. There are specific conditions for the Spain market. There is another there are different settings for market of Germany or France. I prepared an advertisement for one of our services. I showed it to 4 different people in 4 different places. 1 in Germany, 1 and 3 in the US. 1 is in New York, 1 in Nebraska, and 1 in California. The German person, I did not tell them anything. I wanted to see the reaction and see how do they understand what is the purpose of this ad or not. The German person said, it's okay, it's perfect. It expresses this concept, and it's okay. No further edit is required. The person in New York said, it's okay, that's good. The person in Nebraska said, I felt insulted. If you send me such kind of thing one more time, I will block you. Another person in California said, you can tell it in another way. 3 different reactions in one market, US market. So be careful on what you prepare. These trainings are not absolute. They give you understanding to what kind of information, what kind of things are important. But these are not absolute. Something might be very nice, very good, very effective in one culture, and in another culture, it might be insulted, and the person thinks you are insulting them. In so many countries, in some countries, when you go to a restaurant and say to a waiter to please bring me the bill. Why do you say please? It is his responsibility to do that. In another country, if you don't say please, he will bring it, but it throws it toward you in a very insulting way. Because you insulted them, you did not tell him please. Everything is relative, depending on the culture, depending on the people, depending on the understanding. So what I'm going to say is to be careful and try to make some research about the habits, about the culture of your target market. And if you try to hire someone to do the sales for you, and that person says, I will do the globally. Uh, okay, what do you do for this country? I will translate it. Translation is not working. Something might be for the same service. We are using different approach to different countries. Otherwise, we cannot make any sales. And in any sale, what is, you know how to understand, you try to understand the culture and the habit of the people, how to connect with them. This is what Robert is talking about today. Robert, the microphone is yours.
And that was awesome, man. You had me riveted there. I was sitting there listening like, hey, he's talking my language. And especially when it comes to the whole police thing that you were saying. You know, you almost threw me off topic and I want to go in a different direction from today, but it's learning how to connect with people. And as Daryoush said, it's not the end all be all, but I can tell you from my, 20 plus years of experience of talking to hundreds, if not thousands of people, there is a science to it, right? That's why I talk about the psychology behind things. So there are certain things that you can do to connect with people, regardless of what country they're in. And the reason that I wanted to talk about this today is because I did some role playing with one of my students yesterday. And this is something, believe it or not, like you don't see a lot of this really happening in the online space, but we did tons of it when it came to the direct marketing space, which is door to door. Like it was imperative that whenever I had my representatives come in, that was the first thing that they did. They got all their binders together, got all their information, and they would sit there and they would practice, 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 practice. When in essence, we call that role playing, right? So I like to take some of my students and role play with them through the different scenarios when it comes to what it is that they're trying to sell. And ultimately, I like to also teach them how it works, right? Because if you could take somebody and show them how to be successful on a small program that doesn't cost a lot of money, you could teach them how to do the exact same thing on a more expensive program, right? All it is just knowing the science behind it, if you will. So I talk a lot about the psychology of things, right? So connecting with people, I know from my experience that a lot of people tend to connect with that person because of wanting to share their information or sharing a link with them. And many people do it the wrong way. That's why there's such failure in the marketplace. And then when they see the failure or see that it doesn't work for them, they decide to quit and say that it doesn't work, right? So it does work for network marketing if you work it, but there are a lot of things to learn, right? And one of the biggest things is how to connect with other people. And we've talked about this in past episodes where we talk about the acronym FORM, FORM, which is a really good acronym for people to be easily understood and a dynamic way to discuss things with people. F being for family, O being for occupation, R being for recreation, and M being for motivation. So it's important that whenever you do make those connections with people, you're really in essence trying to make at least three different things in common while you're having a conversation. So going back to my story and the role playing that I was doing with one of my students yesterday, I had to explain to her this process. And I had told her a couple of times and she just didn't quite get it yet. So I figured the best way to do it was to go through and role play. So we went through and I role played with her, and she saw that what my main thing, what I tend to do that I learned from my millionaire mentor, was to do what's called changing the person's state. And when I learned about this, it really made sense to me because of the door to door aspect and the psychology of things that I know for sales. It made complete sense to me, and I'll explain that with you. So whenever I connect with somebody, I'm not like, hey, how's it going? Here's my link. I want to connect with that person before I even consider giving them my link. So I'll say, hi, how's it going? How's your day going so far? They'll come back with some type of response. They'll say good, bad, or indifferent. At that point in time, they've opened the door for the discussion. My job is to get them to laugh. That's what I mean by changing the state. So it's important to get that person to have an LOL. So if I have to draw it out of them, I'll do that. So if they say, it's okay, I'll come back with something like just okay, question mark. I guess things could be worse, right? LOL. And I'll say statements like that to get that LOL out of them, to get that state change. And the reason why that's so important, those of you that are watching, is because you don't know where that customer or person just came from. You don't know what their mindset is. You know, they could have had an argument with their wife or whatever's going on. You really don't know. So it's important before you decide that you want to input information into people's brains, you need to clear it out first. So think about last time that you ever had a conversation with a close friend, right? And then you told a joke and maybe the air was dry after, right? So you like, you laugh about it and then look at each other like, okay, now what do we talk about? So that you understand why I'm telling you this and the way that I'm telling you this is because whenever we laugh as a human being, as a species, it literally clears the brain of information. Okay. It's like a reset button, if you will. So if I go and I have somebody laugh, ha 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 ha, ha, now the brain is open for interpretation. So now I can feed the brain if I want to, right? So at that point in time, after I get the LOL or that state change, now what I want to do is I want to make that connection with people. So throughout conversation, I want to find out, well, maybe they're in the same state as I am. Maybe, you know, I've been to that state, which is one thing that I'm grateful for the life that I've led because I've been able to travel, you know, east to west coast, Germany, Canada, Mexico. I've been all over the place so that when people talk to me about things, I can have some genuine conversation about what it is that they're telling me. Maybe I've been to where they live, right? That's a big thing that I do. Oh, I see you live in Virginia. Man, that's beautiful country up here, right? So even connecting with where they live is something special, right? That's one point. Maybe you both had kids, right? Maybe you both have the love for marketing, but it's important and necessary for you guys to make the state change and then find three things in common with that person before you even give them a link. This is very important. I hope that you guys understand what Daryoush is telling you is, yeah, it's not obsolete, but what I'm telling you works. It does work. Now, obviously, you're going to have differences, and you know when you're dealing with those language barriers, like what Daryoush is talking about. But there are still things that you could do. And I give you another example. I connected with a fella that he was speaking nothing but Spanish, and although I can speak Spanish, I'm not very fluent in it. I can't write it. Guess what I did? I pull out Google Translate and I have a conversation with the person. So a lot of people won't even think about going to that extent to pull out Google Translate. And many people have told me, you know, Google Translate isn't always the best. Just like Daryoush should mention, that translation isn't always going to be appropriate, right? But it still gives you a better shot at things than not knowing what to do to begin with. So make sure that you do that state change and then have that conversation to try to find three different things that you can resonate and connect with on a personal level with that person. Now, once that's done, then I'm going to tell somebody, well, I want to thank, you know, say thanks for your time and reaching out to me on this project. Here's what it is, right? And at that point, then I might give them my link, right? Or I might even go into a conversation to pre-qualify those people to find out if they're even, you know, if they're even fit for my business. Because a lot of people will go out there and because they're trying to grow this business, they think that anybody and everybody is a prospect, and anybody and everybody that comes to the table is going to be good for their business, and that's not the case, right? So you want to try to do what you can to build your business, especially with leaders and people that understand you, and then take those people that are underneath you and teach them these things that you're learning that are bringing you success. Because as they say, success leaves clues, right? So if you follow somebody's line of success, odds are you're going to have some type of trickle down and you'll have some type of success as well. But it's important in understanding how to connect with people. Like I can't tell you how many thousands of doors that I've knocked, and especially like going up to Canada, right? You get a lot of different people that go up to Canada. Like Canada is a great, we call America a great American melting pot. Canada is even better and bigger than that because you have different walks of life, and they all hang out and conglomerate in the same places, right? So when you go up to somebody's door or you're having that conversation, as Daryoush was talking about, one thing might, offend one person as it may not offend another. So it's important for you to do real life situations to where they would understand things as a person, right? So something that a person physically goes through, not an actual event or something like waiting in traffic, or something to that extent, but something that that person physically has to go through. Then you can make an easy connection with that person as a human being. Okay. So those are kind of just a few things that I thought about talking about today. But when you go back and you look at it, form, super easy to think about, write it down if you need to. F is for family. People love to talk about their family. Ask them. So, do you have any kids? Occupation. So, what is it that you do for a living? Recreation. So, what is it that you do for fun? Motivation. Well, what motivates you? What gets you out of bed in the morning? Those are all great questions that you should ask those prospects. Connect with them before giving you their link, and then you'll see that your business will bloom a lot nicer than what it is trying to just say, hey, how's it going? Here's my link. So that's what I got, brother, for you. Let's make those connections.
Thank you. That's very important. Knowing the people and knowing uh, how to connect with them and how to initiate the first contact is very important. And this can uh, end to this can start a good business or close all the doors for you. So uh, Kurt is busy.
Yeah, he's on a phone call right
He is
now.
on the phone, so we cannot have his opinion about this.
That's okay. I can add to the conversation. And again, a lot of this information comes from years of door to door to where, I physically went out there, went to people's houses, knocked on their door. And the saying is always going to be the same. You never, ever, ever will get a second chance to make a first impression. So that first impression needs to be a good one. I mean, I've had network marketers that are out there that I know people love to death, and they would, eat off the ground that they walk on. Yet when I talk to them or I have the first initial reaction with them, it's poor. And it's like I would never even think about buying anything from them. So once you put that bad taste in somebody's mouth, it's very hard to turn that around. Super hard to turn that around. So that first impression matters, connecting with that person, because the big thing is, we've said it before too, is people like to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. They also like to do business with people that they aspire to be like, right? So if I go out there and I find somebody that really fascinates me because of what they do or what they say, yeah, I'm going to want to follow that person's information. I'll give you another example. From my sales experience and the psychology that I do some script writing as well and copywriting, right? So I'm going to go follow somebody that's a top copywriter because I can pick up little tips from them, right? So anything like that, I want to get associated with the people that are going to help put me or help catapult me, if you will, to where I want to be, right? That includes my connections, that includes my friends, because as we always say, your network is your net worth. So it's important to make those connections and make them the right way, not out there to show people that, that you actually give a damn. There's just people that they just care about themselves and their money and blah, blah, blah. Man, I'm telling you, you go out there with the intention to just help people and things will flourish the way that you want them to. But the connection is so important, man. So important. That's
Thank you,
why we've been
Robert.
friends.
Thank you, Robert. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free from me or Kurt or Robert, feel free to contact us directly. These are our contact information, and we would be glad to hear from you, talk to you, and answer your questions. Or if you have something to talk about, I would invite you to join us in one of our podcasts and let everyone hear what you want to say. Thank you and have a good weekend. Bye.
Choo choo, love you. Bye bye.